Welcome to today's stream. Today we're looking at lesson 4, conversation 2, and going over our homework today. So, in this lesson, we're taking a look at a dialogue where two friends are going out shopping, right? So first at the beginning, going to get some skincare product. Take care of your face and take care of your skin. But then, the person at the shop says something a little bit not super sensitive. Is that your daughter? And then maybe you're having a bad day. And so your reaction is, how dare you? And you get really crazy and really angry. And so you say, enough with this place. I want to go somewhere else. So you and your friend Sam end up deciding, hey, maybe I need to change my style. Maybe these clothes I'm wearing are a little too old-fashioned. I need to mix it up, try something new, right? And so you end up going to a clothing store and decide to shop around. So in this lesson, we're talking about shopping and clothing and stuff like that. And so what about you? Do you feel like you dress in an old-fashioned way? Now, old-fashioned is a little bit negative, right? But what if you want to say you wear old clothes, but in a good way? Well, you could call that retro. So you could say a retro style, or maybe you could say old school, okay? So if you're dressing in an old style and you want to do that, you think it looks good, you could call it retro, or you could say old school, or even throwback. Throwback is another way to say that. You're throwing your style back in time, throwback. But if you use the phrase old-fashioned, it suggests that it's kind of bad. It's maybe you think it looks a little bit like something my grandpa would wear. Ooh. So, do you feel like you wear a little bit old-fashioned? Or do you feel like you wear retro? Or do you wear young and hip clothes? For me, I personally try to keep my clothes pretty simple. But if I dress up nice, I do wear kind of old-fashioned clothes. I think it's a more classic look. If I'm dressing up fancy, I don't want to look too new, too hip, because if it's new fashion, it might go away quickly, and maybe after 2 years, it might look a little bit silly. So I think classic is good. Maybe I'm a little bit old-fashioned. How about you? Do you like to follow the trends and wear hip and young clothing? Or do you try to be a little more careful and keep it simple? Okay? Good evening, Jean. Good evening, Ginny. Welcome. So, as we go through, a few people have joined us now. And so, as we go forward, I have the chat over here. And it's open. And so if you type a message in, I'll see it as soon as I can. And then once we have a little pause in what we're talking about, I'll answer your question. Okay? So thank you for joining, everyone. And I didn't see anyone post any responses to me in my message today. But yeah, I'd love to hear about your fashion sense. What style do you like? Remember, you can share about yourself and about your life in our group. And it's a good opportunity to practice what you've learned how to say. So practice your language, practice your English, and sometimes it's talking about yourself, which is the easiest thing to do, right? So tell us all about what you like. What fashion do you like? Do you like wearing a suit? Do you like wearing a dress? Do you like wearing old-fashioned clothes? Do you like wearing modern clothes? What's your style? You should try to share it with your classmates. And then we can start a discussion, okay? So we can come back to this a little bit later, but let's get started with your homework. So we'll go through the different grammar that we used in each lesson and the sentences we've practiced, okay? The sentences we had for homework and the grammar we need to practice, okay? Now, in this in this lesson, a lot of the phrases we've learned in this lesson, the meaning is actually kind of similar. And so you're trying to express similar things. And kind of like the last lesson, it's all about things that you think might happen, but there are different levels of how strong you feel, okay? So in the last lesson, we learned about might and could, right? So might and could are kind of in the middle somewhere. And then must is like you're quite sure about something. So if might and could are here, like you have an idea of something, and must is up here, you're pretty sure. You're almost completely sure. Where does likely go? Well, likely goes somewhere in the middle. You're a little bit more confident. You're a little bit more certain. You're not very confident like must. You're not kind of unsure like might or could. You're in the middle. You're like pretty confident in something. Now, this is a little bit tricky because in Chinese, it's not divided so clearly. In English, there are different phrases that mean different levels of how sure you are or how certain you are. So it might go might, likely, must, okay? And so in English, it is separated based on the words you use. In Chinese, a lot of these will be just 可能. And so if you use 可能 in Chinese, changing it to English, you have to think about how sure you are. Do I want to use might? Do I want to use likely? Do I want to use probably? Do I want to use must? And so you got to think about the level and compare it to other ones, okay? So we'll practice this together. But in this lesson, we have likely and unlikely. Those are, you're kind of sure. It's more than might. And then later we have sure. Sure is you're quite sure. And you're certain, you're pretty confident. And then later we have maybe and perhaps. Maybe and perhaps are back down in the I'm not so sure. Maybe and perhaps are close to might and could. Okay? So it can get a little bit tricky, but we have might, could, maybe, perhaps down here. Then likely and probably about here. And then must, sure, certain, bound to up here. Okay? Different levels of certainty. Well, we'll get into this more as we go forward. Okay? Let's get into our homework. And a lot of these, there are many different ways to write these sentences in English. So if yours are different than mine, don't worry about it. If you have the same meaning or close to the same meaning, that's exactly what we want. If the words are a little bit different, that's okay. But we want to express what you're thinking, okay? So each of these sentences, there are quite a few different ways to write them. And so in each lesson, though, we're going to focus on the grammar that we used for that part, okay? So first up, we're going to look at Lesson 4, Conversation 2, Part 2. And this part is focusing on it's possible that, it's likely that, or it's unlikely that, okay? So we're talking about a situation. And so instead of saying the situation, we're saying it. It is likely that blah, 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 okay? You could also write these sentences in the way that we will use in the next part, which is saying like something is likely to something. You could also write these sentences that way, but let's just focus on it's likely that blah, blah, blah for this part, okay? So our first sentence is 有可能今年的景气会比较差. So this one, 景气, the word in Chinese, was a little bit tricky to change into English, and that's okay. So I would translate this sentence as it's possible that the economy will be weaker this year. Ooh, kind of a formal sentence, right? Another way to say it would be, it's likely that the economy will be worse this year. Ooh, that's a little bit more sure, right? You could also say it the way we'll learn in the next part. You could say, the economy will likely be weaker this year. Okay? So for this section in the grammar in this part, we can use it's possible that or it's likely that. It depends how sure you are, how certain you are. If you're in the middle, like it might be or maybe, then you can use the word possible. So it's possible that the economy will be weaker. That's like you're a little bit, you have an idea of it, but you're not sure. But if you're more sure than that, you can use likely. So possible is similar to maybe or might, and then likely is a little bit stronger. It's closer to probably, okay? So it's possible that the economy will be weaker. It's likely that the economy will be worse, okay? You could say weaker or worse, both are okay. But likely is a little bit stronger than possible, okay? And then for 景气. Now, your dictionary probably says something like economic boom or economic prosperity or something like that. Economy is a noun. Economy is 经济. And the economy is a thing. There can be an economic boom. That means the economy is doing really well. Boom means it's going up really fast. Can you use boom in this sentence? Well, no, because boom means it's really good. So saying the economic boom will be weaker, that it doesn't really work that well because boom means it's really, really, really good, okay? And then also prosperity. Prosperity means the economy is really, really, really good. So would we say the prosperity is weaker? No. So generally in English, we would say the economy will be weaker or the economy will be worse, okay? So weaker meaning less strong, or worse means it went down and got worse, okay? So here we want to use economy as a noun. If you use economic, that's an adjective, that would be economic something. So we want to use economy with a Y, okay? Okay. And then using our grammar from the next part, you could also say the economy will likely be weaker this year. That's okay too. But this part we're focusing on it's likely that, okay? And then I said the economy will be weaker. You could also say the economy will be worse, or the economy, if you say the economy will be poorer, that sounds a little bit too strong. That means the economy was bad and it's getting even worse. So it was poor and now it's poorer. So you had no money and now you have even less money. Okay? So it's better to use weak or worse. Okay. Next sentence is 廉价的时候大家可能会待在家而不是出国玩. So in English, I would say on the long weekend, everybody will likely stay at home and they won't go abroad. Okay? Now, I wrote it in a rather simple way, just following the grammar and keeping the grammar pretty simple. So on the long weekend, so when does it happen? Everybody will likely stay at home. This is the grammar we're practicing. And they won't go abroad. Okay? So I made it into two sections. Everybody will likely stay at home and they won't go abroad. So having subject verb, everybody will likely and they won't. Okay? Now you don't need to have that second subject verb thing. You could shorten it to make it a little bit smoother. You could say everybody will likely stay at home, not go abroad. You could do that, but the grammar gets a little bit more complicated. So I kept it simple because we're not focused on that part. We're focused on the likely part, right? everybody will likely stay at home. Okay? So we're using likely to describe what they will do. They will stay at home, and we're adding likely to describe that it's probably going to happen. Okay? Now, you could also use the word probably. Everybody will probably stay at home. Okay? Likely and probably, basically the same. Okay? And as we've talked about before, in Chinese you say 连假, and that's the 2 days of the weekend with an extra day or extra 2 days, right? And so we would call that the long weekend. You could call it a vacation, but that suggests that it might be longer than 3 or 4 days. A vacation might be like a whole week. And then you could also use the word holiday, but that's more common in British English, in England. Okay? In America, we would tend to use long weekend or vacation. Holiday refers to 1 day in America, like the Christmas holiday, or Halloween is a holiday. Okay? And then, who's going to stay at home? I said everybody. You could also say everyone. You could also say people. Okay? So, I used the grammar from our lesson saying everybody will likely stay at home. You could also use other ways of writing this. You could say it's likely that everybody will stay at home. So you could also use it's likely that, and then our subject verb. It's likely that everybody will stay at home. Okay? And then the last part, like I mentioned before, I kept it simple. I said, and they won't go abroad. You could change it and make it have less words, but that makes the grammar a little more complicated. You need to be careful. And so you could say, everybody will likely stay at home and not go abroad. Or you could say, we'll stay at home instead of going abroad. Okay? Or you could say, everyone will stay at home rather than going abroad. Okay? In my answer, I stayed away from those because we'll talk about those more in the future. Okay? And then I use the phrase go abroad. You could also say travel abroad. Now, abroad means to another country. But be careful, it's A-B-R-O-A-D, abroad. I saw a few people write aboard, A-B-O-A-R-D. So the R is in the wrong place. It should be R-O-A, not O-A-R. Abroad means to another country. Aboard means going on a boat or on an airplane. So go aboard, it sounds like you're getting onto a boat, okay? So go abroad, a different country, go aboard, onto a boat, okay? So be careful of where your R goes in that word. Okay, next up is 鲍勃太混了，他不太可能通过考试。Oh, Bob, our friend Bob, he's not doing too much at school, not doing very well at school. So I would write this as Bob, well, a few different ways. Bob is too much of a slacker. Or you might say, Bob slacks off too much. Or, keep it simple, Bob is too lazy. It's unlikely that he'll pass the test. And then the second part, using this part's grammar. It's unlikely that he'll pass the test. Okay. Now, first things first, remember, it needs to be 2 sentences. If you want it to be 1 sentence, you need to connect it with a word. Maybe you could use the word so. If you want to make it 1 sentence, put it together. Bob is too much of a slacker, so it's unlikely that he'll pass the test. If you don't have the word so, don't use a comma. You need a period, okay? I've told you before, 2 sentences, okay? So, Bob is too lazy. So there are many different ways to say that he's too lazy, right? Now, a lot of people use the word slack or slacker. Now, if you use slack, that is a verb. It would be a verb phrase, slacks off, okay? Slacks off means he is kind of lazy. maybe he relaxes too much. He doesn't work very hard. And maybe he doesn't finish his work on time. So he slacks off, okay? Slack is kind of like your body is slack and you're totally relaxed. So if you say Bob slacks off, or you could say he is a slacker. A slacker is a person who doesn't work very hard, okay? So you could say Bob slacks off too much, or he is too much of a slacker. So if you think someone is too much of something, you could say too much of that thing that describes it. So too much of a slacker, okay? Now, I saw a few people use slack as an adjective, like Bob is too slack, or Bob is slacked with an ED, or Bob is so slack. But we wouldn't use slack as an adjective like that, or I wouldn't. It's not very common to use it that way. So either as a verb phrase, slacks off, or as a noun, a slacker, okay? Now, then you can use other words, of course. You could use other phrases, you know. You could say he's too lazy, as I mentioned before. You could also say he didn't study hard, or he's not hardworking. But all of those are okay. Different ways of saying the same idea. Just Bob's not working hard enough, okay? And using this lesson's grammar, I said it's unlikely that he'll pass the test. Now, if you want to use the grammar from the next part, you could say he's unlikely to. So he's unlikely to pass the test. That would be okay too. But you can't mix them together. So it's unlikely that, or he's unlikely to, okay? I saw a few people write he's unlikely that. That's mixing them together. So it's unlikely that, or he's unlikely to. You cannot put them together, okay? So make sure if you start with he, end with to, okay? Now, let's keep on moving forward. The next one is 最近皮肤变差了，可能的原因是吃太多咸酥鸡。Ooh, oh my gosh. Yeah, lay off the fried chicken. Too much is not good for you, okay? Too much fried food. So, I would translate this as, well, one way and then the other way. My skin has gotten worse recently. Ooh, that's not good. The likely reason is that I've been eating too much fried chicken. Okay? So the likely reason is that I've been eating too much fried chicken. You could also write it as the likely reason is all of the fried chicken I've been eating. That one's a little bit more tricky, okay? So the likely reason is that I've been eating too much fried chicken. Or the likely reason is all of the fried chicken I've been eating. Okay. So we have the likely reason is that, and then followed by a subject-verb phrase. Or you could say the likely reason is something. What thing? All of the fried chicken. Okay? So two different ways to write the same idea. So the first part, though, my skin has gotten worse recently. Now, I use the present perfect tense. So we're talking about something that started back then up until now. So recently, we can often use present simple tense, okay? So it started before and it's led up till now. So my skin has gotten worse recently, okay? Or you could also say my skin has been getting worse recently, which is the present perfect continuous, which we learned before. Starts back then, leads till now, and it's continuing, okay? Now, the perfect tense is good for this because it's talking about something recent. It started before now, but it's recent and continued on, okay? Now, a lot of you use the continuous tense. My skin is getting worse recently. Now, is getting worse means right now, okay? So it doesn't quite work. Is means right now and it's continuing. So it's better to use the present perfect because it started back then. It's clear that it started before now. Okay? So if you wrote is getting worse or is bad or something like that, it's close, but it's better to use present perfect tense. Sorry. I get mixed up too sometimes. Too many grammar names. Okay, for the second part, likely is describing reason. So the subject is reason. The reason is, but we're not sure what the reason is. So we say likely. I have a good feeling. The likely reason is blah, 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 blah. So after the is, you can put a noun. The likely reason is all of the fried chicken. Okay? Or you could put a that in a phrase. The likely reason is that I've been eating too much fried chicken. Okay? Now, here, the thing to be careful about is a few people wrote, it is the likely reason, or something similar to that. Now, we need to remember if it's it, we're talking about a situation. Okay? But here we're talking about reason, which is one thing. So we want to use the likely reason. You can't use it's here. It's would be talking about generally a situation, okay? Like the economy. It's possible that the economy, blah, 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 okay? And then one thing is we need to say too much fried chicken. I saw a couple people say too many fried chickens. Now, when we're talking about the food fried chicken, we would say too much. If it's fried chicken, the food, it's many little pieces, and usually it's a non-countable noun. You don't count it. But if you count it and say many fried chickens, that means one entire chicken that is fried, two entire chickens that are fried. Okay? If you say, I ate too much fried chicken, maybe you ate a big bag of it. But if you say, I ate too many fried chickens, you have one fried chicken, two fried chickens, three fried chickens, like the whole chicken. So be careful when we're talking about the food, like lots of little pieces, use much, okay? The image of eating many fried chickens is kind of funny. Okay, next up is Lesson 4, Conversation 2, Part 3. Now, this time, we're using sure to, or certain to, or if we're going to use likely, it's saying subject is likely to something. So using likely in a slightly different way, okay? A person is likely, unlikely, sure, certain, bound to do something, okay? While in part 2, we are doing it's likely that, blah, 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 okay? So the way it works is actually very similar, but the grammar in the way you make the sentence is just another option, another tool for you to use, a different way to say similar things, okay? Our first sentence is, 我这一次一定会中乐透. Ooh, I hope so. Good luck. So I would translate this as, I'm sure to win the lottery this time. Okay? You could say sure. You could also say, I'm certain to win the lottery this time. Or I'm bound to win the lottery this time. Okay? All three of these are very, very, very similar in meaning. Okay? Now, this one was pretty easy. I think everybody got almost exactly the right sentence. So I'm sure to win. You could also say, I'm sure I will win. That's okay too. So I'm sure to win the lottery this time. Or you could say, I'm sure I will win the lottery this time. It's totally fine. The meaning doesn't really change much. Okay? And then I use the word lottery. You could also say the lotto. Both are the same. Lotto, lotto. Okay? Now, let's see. Any questions? Thank you, Sarah, for leaving notes in the chat. Can I use the present tense? My skin gets worse. Using the present tense doesn't really work here. If you use the present continuous tense, my skin is getting worse. That means it's happening now and it's continuing. Okay? Or if you use present perfect, like I said, my skin has gotten worse recently. It started back then, continued till now. If you use present simple, meaning my skin gets worse, remember the present simple tense is it happens again and again and again, okay? So in this sentence, it doesn't work, really, because it's not happening again and again. You're talking about it's happening now, right? Or recently. If you use present simple tense, it might be for a sentence like, okay, my skin gets worse every time I eat fried chicken, okay? So that would mean it happens again and again. Like, oh, last month I ate fried chicken and my skin got worse. And then 2 weeks later, I ate fried chicken and my skin got worse. And now it happened again. And so you could say it happens again and again. The routine, what happens every time is every time I eat fried chicken, my skin gets worse. Does that make sense? So you could use present simple, but that changes the meaning. It means that it happens again and again. In our sentence here, we have the word recently. So that means we're talking about one time, this time, okay? Hopefully that helps. So generally for the present simple tense, it's for something that happens again and again, or if it's just like true, it happens all the time, okay? So let me know if that helps. If you have more questions, let me know, okay? I am seeing one 表示这段时间我跟某个人约会。那 my skin is getting worse 不能表示这段时间我的皮肤变差了吗？谢谢老师。Okay, so I am seeing someone would mean it's happening now and it's continuing on. You can say my skin is getting worse. That's totally fine. The sentence is correct. My skin is getting worse. It's happening now and it's continuing. But by using the word recently, you're adding time to the phrase. It says that it started before now. Okay? So you could say my skin is getting worse, but saying my skin is getting worse recently is a little bit awkward because recently suggests that it started before now. And so for something that started before and then up till now and maybe continues, then we want to use present perfect. So the word recently is the one that is the reason that present continuous sounds a little bit awkward in that sentence, okay? So hopefully that helped. Recently means it started before and then continued to now, which is why I mentioned you could say, my skin has been getting worse recently. That's that continuous, but it's in the present perfect, meaning it started before up till now, okay? I hope that helps. Okay. So let's continue on with our lesson 4, conversation 2, part 3. Next is 如果你一直出国玩，不太可能存到钱。This is probably true, right? So in English, I would say, if you keep going abroad, you're unlikely to save any money. Now, you could also write it as, if you keep traveling, you're unlikely to save any money. The first part, I don't think anyone has any big trouble. So if you keep going abroad or if you keep traveling, both are okay. And I don't think anyone had any big problems with that. You could use one or the other. If you keep going abroad or if you keep traveling. But if you put it together, you don't need to. So I saw a couple of people say, if you keep going to travel abroad. you're kind of repeating the same idea, so you don't need to. Just say going abroad or traveling abroad. But going and traveling, you don't need to put it together. Okay? Then the second part, you're unlikely to save any money. In this section, the grammar we learned is you are unlikely to blah, blah, blah. So that's what I used. But you could also write it in the same way as we did in the last part, in part 2. You could also write, it's unlikely that you will save any money. Okay? It's unlikely that you will save any money. Or it's unlikely that you can save any money. Or it's unlikely you could save any money. All of those are okay. Okay? Also, if you say, it's unlikely that, be careful. It's IT apostrophe S. A lot of students will hear it's and think it's just IS, is. So, it's unlikely that. Did you hear the T sound in there? It's really subtle, but it's in there. It's unlikely. So you need to make sure you remember your T. It's not is unlikely, it's unlikely, okay? So IT apostrophe S. So the next one is, this one was a little bit tricky because ing ho was kind of a tricky word to figure out. Couple steps of thinking. Like, so the Chinese phrase ing ho, you kind of have to make a few steps to get to the right phrase in English, which was pretty tricky. So those of you who got it, good job. Those of you who missed this, don't worry about it. This is a hard one. So the sentence is, 那个女演员肯定会成为这一届影后. Okay, so there's an actress and you think she's really, really good. So you could say, that actress is bound to win Best Actress this year. Okay, so you could write this in a more complicated way, but this is the most direct way, in the most natural way to say it in English. That actress is bound to win Best Actress this year. Okay, so going from ing ho to win Best Actress is a little bit difficult. So if you miss this one, don't feel bad. Okay, so I use bound to because it sounds like it's a little more hopeful. Oh, she's bound to. Like, I have a good feeling about it. Okay? But you could also use sure to. You could use certain to. Okay? She's sure to win. She's certain to win. She's bound to win. All of them are almost the same. Now, sure, certain, and bound, like I said before, you're pretty sure you have a strong feeling about this. So use those three. If you used likely, likely is a bit weaker. It's kind of sure, but it's not very sure. Okay? So she's likely to win. Okay? That's pretty sure, but if you're more sure than that, you could say she's sure to win. She's bound to win. Okay? So likely is here, sure is up here. A little bit stronger. Okay? Now, why do we say win Best Actress? Well, when we're talking about movie awards, in Taiwan, the movie awards are the Golden Horse, right? In America, the movie awards are the Academy Awards or the Oscars. And so, you could make this a more complicated sentence if you wanted to. You could say, that actress is bound to win the Academy Award for Best Actress this year. But we know, because it's an actress, you can figure out through the sentence that you're talking about an award. So you can just totally take away the word award, and you can take away Academy Awards or the Oscars, take those out of the sentence and make it simple and say win Best Actress. And if you say win Best Actress, the person listening to you will know that Best Actress means the Academy Award for Best Actress. Okay? So the Academy Award for Best Actress gets shortened down to just Best Actress. Okay? Now, similarly, you could say that man won the Academy Award for Best Actor. Or you could say he won Best Actor. Okay? You could shorten it. Okay? So the phrase you can just say she is bound to win Best Actress. Okay? But if you wrote she's bound to win the Best Actress Award, that's totally fine. But when you're speaking, if you want to, you can shorten it and drop the words the award. So just say win Best Actress. Okay? And then there were several students who took the words ing ho, which looks like movie queen, right? But movie queen is not a phrase that we use in English. And so just be careful when you're translating directly from Chinese to English. If you see ing ho, you think, okay, that means movie queen. So I can say, I think she will become a movie queen. But it makes sense if you're translating from Chinese to English, but this phrase does not exist in English. We would not say she will become a movie queen. People will get confused. That phrase is not an English phrase. So that's why this sentence was quite difficult. If you just translate it, she will become a movie queen. Yeah, the grammar is correct, the words are correct, but there isn't a phrase like this in English, so people will just get confused. So you can't go straight from Chinese to English. Sometimes you need to figure out some culture, okay? So we would not use the verb become. You'd use the verb win the award. So she would not become the movie queen, she would win the Best Actress award, okay? So you kind of have to think about the culture behind the phrase before you translate this. So if you had trouble with this one, don't sweat it. It's a tricky one. But that's just something to be careful about when you're going from Chinese to English. Sometimes you need to think, hey, like, I'm translating this, but have I actually heard someone say this in English? If you've never heard someone say that before, you can try saying it, and then maybe you might need to change the way you say it to something you've heard before, okay? Or you could ask your friend for advice on how would you say this? And if someone gets confused, if you try saying something like become a movie queen, the person you're talking to might get a little bit confused. And that's okay. Part of learning a language is the other person who you're speaking to might get confused, and that's okay. But what you need to do is be able to describe what you're saying, right? So you'd have to describe it. Oh, when I say movie queen, I mean she won an award. And then you slowly get to the correct way to say it. So try your best. It's tricky, but keep on working on it. So she is bound to win Best Actress this year. And then in Chinese, similar thing. We have 这一届以后. And if you translate from Chinese to English, you might say this session or this round or something like that. But we wouldn't say that for the Academy Awards or the Golden Horse Awards. Each round is every year. So in English, we would say this year or for next year or last year, okay? We wouldn't say this round or this time or this go around. Well, this time would be okay, but this session or this round, it doesn't really work for this situation. So stick to this year, okay? What's the difference between will likely verb and is likely to verb? He will likely study a verb versus he's likely to study abroad. Is the meaning similar? The meaning is basically the same. Like I've said before, there are many ways to say similar things, and he will likely study abroad versus he's likely to study abroad. They're pretty much the same. If you were to like really analyze it, there might be a tiny difference, but not really. Like this is one of those situations where it sounds the same because it is the same. Like the meaning, the difference is not important. So yeah, just two ways to say the same idea. So good question. And then Ginny asks, so there's no need to put the before best actress. No, you don't need to use the before best actress. When we're talking about the awards, we wouldn't put the word the. Okay? So any award. So this film won best cinematography. The music in that film won best music. This actress won best actress. That actor won best actor. This guy won best director. Yeah. So anytime it's the name of an award, we don't need the word the, because it's a proper noun, right? You can think of it that way. Best actress is a proper noun for that award, so we don't need the. Okay? Next up, keep on moving. 你应该跟爸爸要零用钱，爸爸比较有可能给你。Okay. This is true in some families, so we'll see. So, was this true in your house? Some people, the dad is a little bit more open with his money. Yeah, well, hey, whatever. My dad was a little bit like this too. So, I would say this in English as, you should ask your dad for an allowance. He's more likely to give it to you. Okay? In American English, we would say allowance to talk about the money that parents give to their kids. Okay? Now, if you are learning British English, you can say, you should ask your dad for pocket money. He's more likely to give it to you. I never use the phrase pocket money. In America, in the United States, we do not use the phrase pocket money. We use the words allowance, okay? But I double checked with my friends who are from England, and in England, they actually use both words. They use allowance and pocket money. But when they were young, they would say, oh, I got pocket money from my mom and dad. But in the United States, people don't use the phrase pocket money, okay? So, depends. Do you want to speak like an American or like your English? Up to you. Both are okay. Now, as I've said a million times, be careful, make this into two sentences, okay? Now, the first part is, you should ask your dad for an allowance, okay? The phrase should be, you should ask, okay? Now, I saw a couple people add the word to. You should to ask. You don't need to. Between should and the next verb, we don't need the word to. You should ask. You should eat. You should go. You should do. Okay? You never need the word to in the middle there. Okay? I also saw some students use you are supposed to. This is different. This is not the same as should. If you use the word should, it means it's a good idea. If you use you're supposed to, that means you're expected to. Maybe other people think it's the good idea for you to do it, okay? But should just means that it's the right thing to do. It's the right decision, okay? And then, as I mentioned, allowance is the American way to say it. Pocket money is British. You could also say spending money. So you should ask your dad for some spending money. So money you can spend on whatever. Spending money. Okay? And then the second part, he's more likely to give it to you. Okay? You could also say, he's more likely to give you some. Some meaning some money. He's more likely to give you some. Okay? I also saw, he is likely to give you. Give you what? So if you say give you, you need something after. Give you the money. Okay? He is likely to give you the money. Okay? Or he is likely to give you it. Okay? But a lot of students will say give you. You're missing something. You need something after that. He is likely to give you the money. Okay? So, did you get an allowance when you were a kid? I didn't really. My parents would let us have a little bit of money, but we never had an allowance. An allowance sounds more like every week you get a certain amount of money. And some of my friends had that. Like every week they would get $10 from their mom and dad. But I never had that. I would just have to beg, please let me buy something. Okay, let's move on to our next section. Keep it rolling. Move on to Lesson 4, Conversation 2, Part 4. Okay? Now this is using the phrases, the words maybe and then perhaps. So we're focused mostly on maybe and perhaps. Maybe is super useful. You should use the word maybe all the time. It might not be the most formal way to speak, but this is how Americans speak. Americans use the word maybe all the time. So using maybe at the beginning of the sentence or at the end of the sentence, okay? Maybe you should try using the word maybe. Now, perhaps it sounds a little bit more formal, but people do use it in day-to-day speaking, just a little bit less often. Perhaps you should try using perhaps, okay? It sounds a little bit more formal, okay? Now, our first sentence is, 有人弄坏我的手机，可能是瑞秋。You get frustrated. So in English, I would say this as, someone broke my phone. Maybe it was Rachel, okay? Or someone broke my phone. It might have been Rachel. Both of these are okay. So from this lesson, we use maybe. Maybe it was Rachel. But using the grammar we learned before, you could say it might have been Rachel. Both are the same meaning, just two ways to say the same thing. So maybe it was or it might have been. The meaning is the same, but it depends how you want to say it, and people will say it different ways. And so if you hear it a different way, you need to be ready to understand, right? But a lot of people use maybe in this way in day-to-day life. Like, maybe I'll go to this place. Maybe I'll do that, okay? Someone broke my phone. Maybe it was Rachel, okay? Now, the first part was pretty straightforward. Someone broke my phone. I saw a couple different changes of the verbs. I saw someone broke out my phone. Now, you don't want to add the word out. Broke out would mean for your skin. Broke out, meaning you got lots of pimples. Or maybe something was in a container and broke out. Maybe a bad guy broke out of prison. Oh, geez. So using the word broke out, it changes the meaning. So if it's a phone, and just keep it simple, just use broke, okay? Broke meaning it is, well, 弄坏. I also saw a couple people use the word ruined. Ruined doesn't really work here. Ruined means something becomes bad. And so break means like physically breaking it. But ruined means make it go from good to bad, but not physically breaking it, okay? So keep it simple, use the word broke. And then for 手机, I use the word phone. Keep it simple. Everyone now just says phone. A lot of students used cell phone or cellular phone or mobile phone. But these days, cell phones and mobile phones are everywhere, and it's the first thing people think of when you hear the word phone. We don't have dial-up telephones anymore, so you don't need to worry about, oh, they'll get confused if I say phone. If you mean a cell phone, just say phone. That's the common way to say it now. You don't need to say cell phone or mobile or whatever. Those are kind of old ways to say it. I mean, not that old, only a few years, but now people will only say phone. Oh, I have my phone in my pocket. Oh, I lost my phone. My phone is broken. Okay? And then maybe it was Rachel. So Rachel is Rachel. R-A-C-H-E-L. Rachel is a woman's name. Okay? I saw several students write Richard. Richard is a man's name. And the Chinese is a little bit different. It's like Li Chada or something like that. Richard. Richard is a man's name, though. But in these sentences, we're talking about a girl or a woman named Rachel. Okay? So the second sentence, we can write it many different ways. Maybe it was Rachel. It might have been Rachel. You could also say maybe Rachel did it. And that's okay, too. I also saw it may be Rachel. But maybe was one word. Don't do that. We want to use maybe. If it's one word, it goes at the beginning or the end. Maybe it was Rachel. Or it was Rachel, maybe. But don't say it may be Rachel. Don't do that. If it's two words, it may be Rachel. That would be okay. But in spoken English, people don't really do this because it gets confusing. Maybe as one word is more common. Having it separate as two words, it's not very common. People usually would use might. It might be Rachel. But here, because it's past tense or present perfect tense, you would say it might have been Rachel. Okay? Next up. Oh, no, it wasn't. I don't think it was Rachel. 你可能误会她了。也许她没有那么坏。So, this first part, 你可能误会她了. This was a little bit tricky, right? So, I would write this as, ooh, you might have gotten it wrong. Or, you might have got it wrong. Or, you might be mistaken. And then the second part, perhaps she isn't that bad. Or you could also say, maybe she isn't that bad. Okay? So, the first part I would write as, use the phrase got it wrong. You might have got it wrong. Okay? The correct grammar should be, you might have gotten it wrong. But spoken, we would say, you might have got it wrong. So to get something wrong means to make a mistake and misunderstand a situation. So the it here means the situation. You might have got it wrong. Okay? You could also say you might be mistaken. So you might have misunderstood the situation. You might be mistaken. Now, we wouldn't use misunderstood by itself here. So a lot of students said you might have misunderstood, or you might have misunderstood her. Now, misunderstood usually means when you hear something or hear someone say something. But here, in this situation, we have my phone was broken, and then I am saying, oh, I think it might have been Rachel. But that's not a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding is if you talk to Rachel and you misunderstand what she says or what she does, right? But here, we're talking about the situation. You're not misunderstanding the situation, okay? That's kind of complicated to explain, but misunderstood would be for what Rachel did or what Rachel said. But we don't know exactly what Rachel did or said. We're just talking about the situation. So when we're talking about the situation, it would be better to say, you might have got it wrong or you might be mistaken, okay? And then the second part, perhaps she isn't that bad. You could also say, maybe she isn't that bad. You could also say, it's possible that she isn't that bad. All of these are basically the same, okay? It's that kind of I'm not quite sure level. Like, I have a feeling, but I'm not sure, okay? Like we learned before, what's another way to say something you're not quite sure? You could say, she might not be that bad, okay? We learned that in our last lesson. And then, last section or last sentence of this section is 没关系，这可能是换手机的机会。It's kind of a optimistic way to think about it, right? You're feeling okay about it. Hey, whatever. So I would translate this as, it's all right. Maybe this is a good opportunity to get a new phone. As I've said a million times, 2 sentences. It's all right, period. Maybe this is a good opportunity to get a new phone, okay? So the first sentence is, it's all right. It's all right, meaning the situation, it's all right. Oh, whatever. You could also say, it's okay. So okay and all right, basically the same, okay? Now, we're talking about the situation, it's all right, whatever. So we want to use it, right? I saw a few people use that's all right. That's all right. That would mean if you use that, it's talking about something specific that happened. Rachel broke my phone. Oh, that's all right. That would be like forgiving her. But the whole situation with my phone being broken, so it's better to use it. So if you use that's all right, it sounds a little bit more like you're forgiving her. Oh, that's all right. Don't worry about it, Rachel. But it's all right is talking about the whole situation together. Okay? The meaning, it's almost the same, so don't worry too much. But I did see someone say it doesn't matter. Now, it doesn't matter, the meaning is a little bit different. And so I wouldn't use it doesn't matter. Because if you say it doesn't matter, that means you don't care. But you do care because your phone is broken. But you care about it, but it's okay. So we shouldn't use it doesn't matter. It's better to use it's all right or it's okay. Okay? And then the second part, maybe this is a good opportunity to get a new phone. You could also say maybe this is a good chance to get a new phone. I would prefer opportunity in this sentence, but the meaning is basically the same. Okay? Now, a good opportunity to do what? A good opportunity to get a new phone. You could also say to buy a new phone. Okay? Now, in Chinese, it's written as 换手机. Now, in Chinese, you would use 换手机, but in English, we would not say change a new phone or replace a new phone. We would keep it simple and say buy a new phone or get a new phone. Okay? So replace my phone, that's not wrong. It's a good opportunity to replace my phone. Those don't really go together because good opportunity means like, oh, it's good. And then replace sounds like it's a bad situation. But like you're focused on it's broken, so you're replacing it. So if it's a good opportunity, you want to get a new phone. So you're focusing on the new experience. Okay? Change a new phone doesn't work. That's going from Chinese too directly to English. change a new phone means you're taking that new phone and you're changing it some way. So that's not what you mean, okay? You want to buy a new phone or get a new phone, okay? And then, like I said before, I use the word maybe. So maybe this is a good opportunity. You could also use perhaps or this might be. All of those are okay. Maybe, perhaps, might be, it's possible, are all very similar in meaning, okay? So it's all right. Maybe this is a good opportunity to get a new phone. That's a good way to think about it. Oh, geez, my phone's broken, but hey, I can get something new and fun and fancy, okay? Let's move on to the last section. Lesson 4, Conversation 2, Part 5. So you go out shopping with your friend and look at some clothes that, oh, you don't like anything. But now in these 3 sentences for your homework, you're talking to your friend who maybe your friend lost their job. Oh, that's too bad. But then they've been a couch potato for maybe 2 months, relaxing too much. So 你已经耍废这么久，该是振作起来的时候。Let's do it. 頑張って. So, in English, I would say, you've been relaxing for so long. You could also say, you've been sitting on your butt for so long. Okay? And then the second part, it's time to get motivated. Or you could say, it's time to get your act together. Or, it's time to get off your butt. Okay? So a few different ways to say the same thing. Okay, so the first part is you've been relaxing for so long, or you've been sitting on your butt for so long. So here I use 耍废, suggesting that they're being lazy and they're laying around the house too much, right? 耍废, if you're relaxing in a good way, you could say hanging out. But in this sentence, it doesn't really fit to use hanging out, right? So I would use relaxing. You've been relaxing, like too relaxed. Or you've been sitting on your butt. Sitting on your butt suggests that they've been lazy and they've been staying in the same place for too long, okay? Now, I think of this as like, oh, your friend has been sitting on their butt for days and days and days, or relaxing in the couch for days and days and days, okay? If it's a long time, I would use relaxing or sitting on your butt. Now, a few of you use chilling out, chilling, and vegging out. Now, these phrases are okay to use. You've been vegging out for so long. But it sounds like maybe just for today. So you've been vegging out today. Vegging out means you're acting like a vegetable, meaning you're just like kind of sitting there spacing out. You're vegging out, being lazy, okay? But if you say you've been vegging out or chilling out, it sounds like it's like just today. But if we're talking about days and days and days, you could use something else. You've been relaxing. You've been sitting on your butt. Yeah, you could also say you've been lazy for so long. Okay? Now, the second part was a little bit more tricky. So, 振作起来. Now, most students translated this as cheer up. It's time to cheer up. Okay? Now, I did not use cheer up. Why? That's the big question. So cheer up means that someone is sad and you want them to become more happy. Okay? So if I'm sad and like this, oh, you say, oh, cheer up, Kyle. Feel better. It's okay. And maybe you love the band Twice. You can listen to the song Cheer Up. And maybe you go from being sad and you go, oh, it cheers you up, okay? To cheer someone up means to go from sad to happy. Now, in this sentence, the the meaning isn't really going from sad to happy. You're going from lazy to working hard, right? So that's not cheering up. So I would use the phrase get motivated. Motivated means someone who's pushing themselves to work hard. So a common phrase now is someone needs to get motivated. If you saw my post about Reddit, the website Reddit, one really popular part of Reddit is called Get Motivated. And on that section of Reddit, it's all people pushing each other to work hard and do better in life, okay? Maybe, oh, I've been lazy for a long time. I need to get motivated, okay? Get motivated just means start pushing yourself to do better and be a better person, okay? So it's time to get motivated is the best for this sentence, I think. Another way to say it is, it's time to get your act together. Now, this is suggesting that someone's life is kind of messy. Maybe they're not in control of their life. So it's time to get your act together. So this a little bit, so get motivated is a really positive thing. Get your act together is a little bit more negative, like it suggests that your life is bad and you need to get it together, okay? And so get motivated is a positive thing. Get your act together is a little bit mean. Not really, but a little bit. And then the last one is quite mean. It's time to get off your butt. So someone's been sitting on their butt for a long time, and you say, time to get off your butt, meaning like get up and get out. That one's a little bit really strong. So maybe a mom and dad might yell at their son, get off your butt and go outside, okay? So if someone's been sitting around for too long, you can say, get off your butt, okay? So these three phrases could be good. If you want to be really friendly, say, get motivated. If you want to be a little bit stronger, say, get your act together. If you want to be really strong, you could say, get off your butt or get off your ass if you want to say it really strong, okay? Next sentence is, 你一定会找到理想的工作，要不要上这个求职网站看看? So, in English, I would write it as, you're sure to find your ideal job. How about you take a look at this job search website? Now, you could write this many different ways, but using the question that was in our dialogue, I wrote it this way. So you're sure to find your ideal job. How about you take a look at this job search website? Okay? And I use sure to, but you could say you're bound to or you're certain to. All of them are okay. They're basically the same. Okay? And then you're sure to find your ideal job. So your ideal job. So ideal means perfect for you. So your ideal job. Everyone is different, so it's ideal for you. So that's why I use your. Because your ideal job would be different from his ideal job, right? So I think the best way to say this would be your ideal job. But you could say it many different ways. Unideal job would be okay. That's very close, very much the same meaning, and it's perfect for you, okay? So the reason we use ideal is it's perfect for that person, okay? Now, other people wrote it as a good job, a suitable job, a perfect job. Those are all okay. They're all good translations, but by using ideal means it's a perfect fit for that person, okay? So next up is, how about you take a look at this job search website? I use the verb take a look at. It means just take a look. Now, you could use a different verb. You could say check, search, or try. All of these are okay. How about you check this job search website? How about you try this job search website? How about you search this job search website? Okay? All of them are okay. but I would probably use take a look at. Okay? Make sure it's take a look at, not take a look on or something else. Take a look at. When we use look, we look at something. Okay? And then the first way to say this would be job search website. That's the most common way to say it. Job search website. You could also say job hunting website. Okay? So those two would be the best. Job search website, job hunting website. There are other ways to say it, which some of you use. Career website, online job search, or recruitment website. All of these they're okay to use, but they sound more formal. Day-to-day life, we would probably just say job search website. Okay? Or you could even shorten that to job site. J-O-B-S-I-T-E. Job site. Okay? Yeah, so it could be website or site, but you cannot just put web, okay? The web means all of the internet. You need to say website, okay? Now, next up, last but not least, is 我从一开始就知道你一定会做得很好. Yeah, I know you can do it. So, the way I would rate this is, I've known from the get-go that you're sure to do well. Okay. And then, now the order of this was a little bit tricky. Now, why is it tricky? Because from the get-go is time, right? And most of you put the time at the end and said, I've known that you're sure to do well from the get-go. Now, that is not wrong. That's okay to do it. But why did I move the time to the middle? I've known from the get-go that you're sure to do well. Because we have to be careful where from the get-go goes in the sentence, because you want to make sure you're connecting it with the right idea. So I'll explain what I mean. I've known from the get-go that you're sure to do well. From the get-go is connected to, like, from the get-go means from the beginning, right? So I've known from the get-go, meaning I've known from the beginning. The time goes with when I knew this thing. So I put the time together with the verb. I've known from the get-go. I'm putting the time with known to show that that's what it's connected to. If you put from the get-go at the end of the sentence, the grammar is okay. I've known that you're sure to do well from the get-go. But if you say it that way, it makes it less clear what is from the get-go connected to. I've known that you're sure to do well from the get-go. The person listening might think, I'm sure to do well from the get-go? Do you get the difference? So, by putting from the get-go in the middle, it connects to make it clear that I've known it from the get-go, not that you'll do well from the get-go, okay? So it's a slight difference that way. You can move the time in your sentence to connect it to the thing it's connected to. So if you always put it at the end, it might be less clear in what you're saying, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. You can move the time around to show what the time is connected to, okay? So another note for this is that you're sure to do well. And then, of course, you could say you're certain to do well, or you're bound to do well. All three of those are basically the same meaning, okay? And then one more thing is that it's I've known from the get-go. I use the present perfect tense, meaning it started back then and continued till now, okay? So the present perfect tense is the right choice for this one, okay? So this is, you're encouraging your friend to get out there, try this job search website. I know you'll do well. I've known for a long time that you'll do well. So just get out there and do it. So you could use a lot of these phrases to push yourself, push your friends, and say, hey, or even talk to yourself. Hey, me, you've been relaxing for too long. Time to get motivated and study harder or something like that, okay? So a lot of these phrases are really useful, and hopefully it's clear why we use some instead of the others. And then also, in this lesson, a lot of the phrases are interchangeable. If you want to use maybe, if you want to use might, if you want to use likely, if you want to use possible, the meanings are very similar, so you can use many different words to say the same idea, right? Remember that we're learning different tools to help your speaking and your English, help make your English a little bit more interesting, right? If you're always using the same words, it gets boring. Boring for you, boring for the listener. So giving you more tools to say the same ideas can be a really useful way to help you express yourself, okay? And express yourself in different ways, okay? And so if you're going out shopping with your friends, hopefully you're not in such a bad mood, but you can use some of these phrases to express your feelings, hopefully better feelings, in many different ways, right? Okay. So, looks like we don't have any questions for now, but I'll stick around for a few minutes. If anyone would like to chat with me after the stream, I'll stay around, send a message to Kyle Moai. And hopefully, let me know if you have any more questions, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So thank you very much, everybody. And I'll see you in the next lesson where we check out how a totally relaxed person would react to this situation where, oh, is that your daughter? And they just go, no. So how would that person react to the situation? Where would they go shopping? What would happen? Well, maybe something interesting will happen at a makeup stand or a skincare stand, okay? So I'll see you next week, and have a good weekend. Study hard, and I know you're sure to do well. So thank you, everybody. Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a good night, have a good weekend, and I'll see you next week, same time. Bye-bye.